Welcome back to the Kevin O'Connor Show. The Oklahoma City Thunder just beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 118-103 in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. We'll talk about it. Tom Haberstroh. What up, Tom?
Hey, just getting my Scott Foster on, making sure we're ready for the show.
Yep. I did not know that was coming. You just put this in. You just put this in now. He didn't see it coming from Lou Dort either, did he?
No, just physicality, man. It's at another level, and you just want to be prepared. So Scott Foster, me, we're just trying to endure the postseason, no matter whether Lou Dort or whether you, Kev, you're giving me an errant elbow here, inadvertent, doesn't matter. I'm ready to play.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom. Unfortunately, Minnesota's also going to bloody nose after this game too as well. They're down 2-0 in the series now. They score 103 in Game 2 after being held to just 88 in Game 1. SGA had 38 points in Game 2 tonight. I'm not seeing a lot of reasons for optimism here with Oklahoma City, Tom. I talked after Game 1 on my pod about it just feels like OKC is on a different level. Anthony Edwards needs to level up his play as well. All the talk about SGA and the grifting and all that was ignoring what we're seeing with this team on the defensive end of the floor, becoming an all-time great defense. What do you think, Tom? Are there any reasons to feel like Minnesota can make this an actual competitive series based off what you've seen through the first two games so far?
No, there's no good signs here. There's nothing you can point to and say, look, they're doing good things. The process is right. They're just not getting the results. You can say some of the three-pointers are not going down, the open threes, but the DNA of this Minnesota team is that they play swarming defense. They're going to turn you over. They're going to be huge with Rudy Gobert and with Julius Randle and Naz Reid. And if anything, they're the softer team. If anything, Rudy Gobert can't be played in this series. He's not making an impact. How many times in this series have you seen Rudy Gobert get the ball on the move and have some totally just JV basketball play at the rim? It doesn't look like he deserves to be out there offensively because he's not getting the second chance points. He's not asserting himself in those screens and laying guys out. I mean, I'm not trying to put this all on Rudy Gobert because Julius Randle was benched in the fourth quarter along with Dante DiVincenzo, but it's not a good sign, Kevin, when your huge trade, when you trade Karl Anthony Towns, the two guys you get back in that trade are benched in the fourth quarter at Game 2. It was a horrible game for those two guys. Dante DiVincenzo, minus 47 in this series when he's on the floor. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been outscored by 47 points when Dante DiVincenzo is on the floor. So they lose last year. They come back with a new look with Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and Chris Finch lost all faith in those guys in Game 2, and I can understand why, man.
DiVincenzo, what happened to the dude with these banger performances last year for the Knicks in the postseason? Game 1 against the Pacers, or game 6 against the Sixers, 23 points. Game 1 against the Pacers, 25. Game 2, 28. Game 3, 35. Game 7 against the Pacers, which was a loss for the Knicks, 39 points. Where's that guy for the Minnesota Timberwolves right now? They'd love to have him make a comeback. But Tom, you're right. You're right about Rudy. He's not offering anything offensively for Minnesota. He's not able to impose his will like he did earlier in each series throughout against Hartenstein and against Chet Holmgren. He doesn't have that effect. Julius Randle, a dud tonight from him after a really good Game 1. And then Mike Conley. I mean, I don't want to knock on the guy, 37 years old. You can't expect a lot from him, but 2 of 8 in Game 1, 1 of 6 in Game 2 from a guy who is starting and getting 25 minutes per game for you. It's hard. Like, I think with SGA and Anthony Edwards, they are both 2 of the 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 best players in the league, depending on where you want to rank Anthony Edwards. SGA is better. Well, we can talk about that. But for Anthony Edwards, the supporting cast is nowhere near what SGA has. That is without question for Ant with this situation right now. Whereas you look at Jalen Williams, the big game he had tonight, not only 26 points for Oklahoma City, not only 10 rebounds and 5 assists, but excellent, versatile timely defense as well. So like just his second star, the bench guys, Lou Dort, the timely strips on Randall. It's just up and down the roster. Like you could go on forever with OKC compared to Minnesota. I don't see a lot of reasons for optimism either, Tom. I just don't. I can't find any.
Dude, it looks like OKC has 6 defenders out there sometimes. They're that good defensively. Yeah. I've talked about it. It's the best defense I've ever seen. Like when they're getting guys in isolation
that early in the year, Tom. You were on that super early with OKC.
It's just they play at another level. They play with a physicality. They play with a chemistry. It seems like they always know where their teammates are, and they have size. They have smarts. They know when to attack, when to kind of hit the gaps and make sure to wall up. And then the other thing is their defense turns into offense. I'm going to give you a stat here. In this series, the points off turnovers margin, OKC has 53 points off of turnovers, and Minnesota has 20. Okay.
Dude,
thank you, Stat News. I had that written in my notes here, but look at that graphic. Fantastic job here. I have it. I promise you, I had this written down. I am not cribbing it off of Stat News, but that's the story of the series. Like the defense is insane. Yeah. The half-court offense for Minnesota, they can't get anything good. In the half-court, their points per possession in the first game of this series was at 81. In the second game, it's 95. This OKC defense held the Denver Nuggets 12 points below where they were in the first series. Denver scored 115 points every 100 possessions in the first series, and against OKC, that went down to 103. So when you're looking at Minnesota heading into this series, 112, they're probably going to be around 92, 95 points per 100 possessions against this OKC defense. It's insane. It really is insane when you watch how they play. The play of the game, J-Dub in the fourth quarter, he swipes the ball, puts it behind his back, kicks it up, and then when he gets the and one, you're just looking at yourself like, they turn defense into offense better than any team. And when they get as many turnovers as they do, more turnovers than we've seen in the play-by-play era, this team is on another level, like you said at the top of the show, Kev.
Tom, and I think, when you talk about turning defense into offense, so much of that, it's skill level of the players, but the game planning as well. Like there was this play last round against Denver, and the play I mentioned tonight, when Lou Dort stripped Julius Randle onto the basket, and he probably didn't reestablish himself in bounds before outletting it, and SGA drew an and one, and it looked like a legitimate foul in transition. But it just reminded me of a play last round when Case and Wallace perfectly timed a rotation on Nikola Jokic after they trapped Jamal Murray around the free throw line, and he swiped down at the perfect moment to get the ball out of Jokic's hand. How many times did we see that last round against Joker? How many times are we going to see it throughout this round against Ant and Julius Randle and everybody in Minnesota? This is from game planning. This is showing film and saying, this is the moment to be there. This is the moment to swipe. This is the moment to make a play and just cause havoc for this offense in situations that they're not expecting it. It is a combination of skill and game planning with what we see from OKC all year long, and they're turning it up to another level in this postseason. When you see stuff like that, it's absolutely unbelievable what Oklahoma City is doing on the defensive end. And for Anthony Edwards, Tom, it's gonna be a puzzle for him, a huge learning experience. SGA, 3 years older than Ant, far more advanced on his drives to the basket, far more advanced as a decision maker. SGA significantly better at this point of his career. That's not a knock against Ant, who's only 23 years old, who has a lot of room to grow. This series has shown it, though. I thought game 2, he was a lot better than game 1, because game 1, Ant, man, he's only 13 shots, first of all. Only 13 shots was not enough, but he only had one shot in the paint. Only one shot in the paint. Game 2 tonight, 26 total shots, 11 shots in the restricted area. The tracking stats have not come out yet from Synergy, but he had only 7 drives in game 1 to 28 for SGA in game 1. I'd imagine Anthony Edwards more than doubled the drives into the paint in this game too. So that's encouraging, but there's just not as much room for him. He's Still not as skilled at finishing at the rim as SGA. Still not as skilled at drawing fouls for that matter either. If you want to call it a skill, I know people don't want to talk about that with SGA, but it is.
People like to talk about it, Kev. People like to call it. They love to talk about it. Yeah, not very complimentary terms, but they love to talk about it.
No, dude, I had Trey Johnson, top 5 pick in the NBA draft in all likelihood on my pod this week. And I posted the clip on my socials this week. I asked him, and I always ask the same question to all the draft prospects. I was like, if you could download any move into your brain and have it immediately from any player in NBA history, what would it be? Last year, I asked Victor Wembanyama that. He's like, the way KD moves off ball, the hesitation with the way he moves off ball. You ask other guys, they're like, oh, Luka's step back, the Harden step back. Trey Johnson says, whatever it does that SGA does to draw fouls, like whatever SGA is doing. And I was like, grifting? He's like, yeah, the grifting move. So there were so many like OKC fans that replied to that. They're like, ooh, I love Trey Johnson now. And then you had a bunch of other people like this. I hate this guy. These kids learning from SGA. It's like, dude, no, SGA learned from Dwayne Wade. This is not a new thing. This is a very old thing. But yeah, anyway, I digress here, Tom.
Yeah, if you want more on this, watch the big number this week. We did it with Dan Devine. Came out on Thursday. The numbers on SGA just don't measure up to all of the great scorers of all time. The stat is that he has had 9.2 free throw attempts per game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this postseason, which over a 12-game span, that total of 110 free throw attempts over a 12-game span and ranks 6th all time. 406 in the postseason. So, like, if you look at Dwayne Wade, if you look at Kobe, if you look at MJ, if you look at LeBron, you look at Paul Pierce, Manu Ginobili, they've all gotten way more free throws than what we're seeing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you know what? Tonight is the first time that he's had back-to-back games with at least 10 free throws this postseason. So it's not like he's on that Dwayne Wade run where he's getting 20 free throws, or even Dirk Nowitzki was getting 20 plus free throw attempts. We haven't seen that from SGA yet. And yet people are just really upset because I think, look, man, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the way he moves laterally, the way he snakes into the defense, the way his hesitation, his pacing, he might not have the fastest or the quickest first step, but he might have the quickest 5th step we've ever seen in the NBA. The way that he lulls you into thinking that you've got him and you've got, staying in front of him, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just waits until you get your foot out in front of you, the weight off balance, and he is, boom, gone. And he's going to get into you and make sure that he draws contact and finishes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is incredible. He's an incredible scorer. And I'll say this, Anthony Edwards, too little too late, man. Like when I watched this game, the third quarter, when the game started getting away from Minnesota, there were 3 straight possessions, Kev, where Anthony Edwards was stay half court as a decoy, having Lou Dort face guarding him. And Anthony Edwards wanted nothing to do with the play. I don't know whether this was by design or whether this was just he was tired. He had 18 field goal attempts in the first half, Anthony Edwards did. That is a career playoff high. I don't think he's ever had 18 field goal attempts at halftime in his career. And he was coming out, trying to get post-ups, trying to get action. But in that third quarter, when OKC went on that big run, Ant just kind of gave up and he lost his spirit, whether it was about Julius Randle and his play, whether he looked at his teammates and was like, you know what, you guys try it. I'm not gonna keep doing this anymore. And yes, he made that fourth quarter run and he was awesome in the fourth quarter. But the game was lost in the third quarter and Ant just didn't do enough.
One of the things I think Minnesota needs to do with Ant more off the catch, and this is partially on him too. You're talking about giving up in certain possessions. I think he needs to trust sometimes that the ball is gonna find him again. But so far in this postseason, he has taken 75 3-point jumpers off the dribble, made only 28% of them. He's taken only 31 3-pointers off the catch. He's made 58.1% of them. So he's taken only 31 threes off the catch to 75 threes off the dribble. Too much off the dribble, not enough off the catch when he's such a lethal shooter. He was a lethal shooter, one of the best shooters all season long, still has been in this postseason. You got to find that guy for more shots. whether that means a Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, high pick and roll, kick out to Anthony Edwards, or whether it means Julius Randle, post out, kick out to Ant, whatever it is, the ball needs to find Anthony Edwards in these easy situations off the catch. And also, Tom, that's what could also lead to him, if they're closing out hard on him, driving that closeout, getting to the basket, putting the defense into rotation. So I think that's part of it here with Ant, is trusting that you'll get the ball back, and also for his teammates to look for this guy and get him the ball back. And I don't think a lot of the time that they're necessarily doing that, but that's also just partially the nature of Minnesota's offense. But there's these little things here with Minnesota that I'm like, yeah, there's a shot, like there's a chance they could win some games in this series. I picked OKC in 6. I feel like it's more likely going to be 5 at this point. But a sweep wouldn't shock me either. I don't think that's outrageous to say, but ultimately, like, this is another year. I think just like last year, Ant comes back, one of the best shooters in basketball. This is another year, 23-year-old Anthony Edwards, where it's looking like, okay, how can I get better so I can take the next step next year? And that's just, I'm predicting that's going to be the main takeaway. And I don't think that's some hot take at all. It's probably actually just a cold take to say that this is going to be the case for Anthony Edwards this year.
I mean, it's increasingly a young man's league. This is increasingly a young man's game. Like, when you're looking at Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley in this series, they just look old. Like, Rudy Gobert, how many times have you seen Rudy Gobert look like he is the biggest, strongest guy out on the floor on offensive rebounds? How many times has he gotten a lob in the half court against OKC? I can't remember like any times. And there's times where he gets the ball in that short roll and then throws it off the backboard. I mean, I don't know where they're going to go with Rudy Gobert, dude, but like, that 27-point, 24-rebound game against the Lakers to close out the Lakers, that feels like 10 years ago, dude. Like,
feels like Tom, it feels like last night for me. You see the jersey over my shoulder. Feels like yesterday.
No, come on, dude.
I'm
like,
joking.
Rudy.
I'm joking. I know,
dude.
I can be fair. I can be fair and honest with Rudy Gobert.
If you're going to play that guy, he has to get that second chance of opportunities to kick out to shooters, or he's going to have to get some sort of separation for Anthony Edwards and getting him downhill and finishing at the lob. They've got nothing from him. And look, it's just not his series. At this point, when you're looking at Chet and Hart, way that they have been rebounding the ball and not allowing Rudy Gobert to assert himself, this is just a bad series for he and Julius Randle, who, this was the thing. If Julius Randle thinks he can get bully ball against the Golden State Warriors and against the Los Angeles Lakers, it's a different ball game with OKC. It's not going to work. And Chris Finch pulled the plug on Julius Randle in game 2. And look, he's been on such a good run here in the postseason. A career low 6 points on 2 of 11 shooting is not going to cut it. And they need more from Julius Randle. And if you're looking at the game 3 game plan, do you start Naz Reid? Got a lot better actions, a lot more assertive, a lot more sound, both ends of the floor. We've been calling for that all season long, and I don't know if Chris Finch is going to do that. You might lose Julius Randle for the series if you do that. But Naz Reid, man, he looked a lot better next to Anthony Edwards. Like, that flip, that switch went off for Anthony Edwards without Julius Randle on the floor. I wonder if you can read into that.
Maybe. I mean, like, Julius Randle's been so good. Like, it's a hard decision to make, and Naz has his flaws defensively as well. But if he's shooting the ball well, like Randle did in game 1, Randle did really shoot well in game 1. Maybe that's something you go to more often. I wonder if also, if you're talking about series adjustments, whether it's lineups or something tactical. We saw Minnesota try out some zone in this game. Didn't work well. OKC looked very well prepared for that. It did force them to take more threes than they did in game 1, when OKC took the fewest frequency of threes that they did throughout the entire postseason, versus Minnesota that took the most threes they had the entire postseason. But OKC game 1, Minnesota didn't use zone. Game 2, Minnesota's using some zone in addition to their standard defense. Late in the game, they blitzed. They trapped SGA. You can't do that all game long. But
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if maybe that's something Minnesota goes to after their success in that fourth quarter, try to get the ball out of SGA's hands. They had a possession where they forced the ball to Dort late ISO. Like that was the best shot OKC had in the possession. I wonder if maybe that's something you go to, but I feel like OKC is going to be ready for that. I just don't see many answers, but I just would imagine that's something you'll see Minnesota try earlier in games instead of when they're down late in the fourth.
SGA is just too good, man.
I know, he's amazing.
He's
amazing.
So good. He makes the
MVP
right decisions
for a reason, Tom. He was rightfully named the MVP.
Right, Michael Malone? He was just on my screen just a second ago with SVP. So
you see Malone clarify that before the game, just so everybody knows. Jokic would have been my vote for MVP. It's like, dude, you also said OKC has the best home fans. That's what you also said. It wasn't just that's why SGA is the MVP. He 2 hours earlier in the night, he said OKC is the best fans. It's like, come on. You're being petty, just like you always were. It's part of who you are. It's part of why you're great. It's part of why Nuggets fans are also mad at you right now. It's just the reality of it. You don't have to backtrack. It's okay.
Man.
Jokic was okay with you getting fired. It's okay to feel petty. It's okay. Jokic
I had no idea that he did a mea culpa after the game.
He did. He's like, just
game.
so everybody knows, there's a lot of people mad at me. The other ESPN
man, he's got to have a thick skin. He's been coaching in this league for a long time. He knows he's got to have a thick skin, especially in media, man. Michael Malone. I think he's got good analysis. He's been doing a good job.
Here's the thing, Tom. Tom, here's the thing. He doesn't have thick skin. He can't handle being called Mike Malone.
Yeah, it's kind of true. Yeah, that's why I keep saying Michael. I don't want to piss him off. You know,
get a call.
Yeah, I did vote for Nikola Jokic for MVP this year. If I had a vote, what? I want to make sure the people of Denver know that because I'm getting a lot of heat back home.
Come on,
let it go.
Relax,
it go,
Mike.
Mike.
Oh God, it's so silly. Did you know, Tom? Speaking about the broadcast tonight, did you know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are cousins?
Get out!
I know.
Oh, so that's the cousin that they've been talking about every 6 seconds in this series. Oh, okay.
You know what it reminds me of? During the NFL draft. They have the NFL draft broadcast on ESPN with like Mel Kiper and hardcore analysis. And then they have the family channel one on ABC, the ABC version of the NFL draft where it's all about family and happy stories and sad stories. And they talk about stuff like that. It's like, we don't need that so often on this broadcast. Save it for like the family channel version of this broadcast if that exists somewhere. We don't need it from Breen and Doris and RJ this often on the main broadcast.
I mean, they're trying to find some storylines here because the audience, the national audience, is not really familiar and acclimated with this OKC team. Even though they won 68 games, they were not the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 team in national TV appearances. So they're trying to make up for lost ground here, making the stories about OKC. I've been talking about it all season long, is this team should have been, along with Wemby, on national TV at every opportunity because this is the future. Team's average age is 24 years old. 24. Like they and Auburn are not that much in terms of average age. This is just the beginning. And so I feel like we need to put the work in to watch these guys, these young players, with a little bit more attention on the national stage. And so now we're kind of playing catch up, and the Nickeil Alexander-Walker stuff, that feels like, man, we've got to find some storylines to like get get the jaws, the fangs into the audience on a national level. Because the SGA stuff, there's a vacuum here, a void of people are trying to find something to complain about with this OKC team. And if it's just the free throw attempts that rank 406th all time, I mean, we got to find something else. I think the audience is trying to figure out what we're doing in this post Kevin Durant Stephen Curry and LeBron James era. And so I think what you're seeing is indicative of us trying to figure out storylines to get the national audience and kind of pit some enemies or some sort of drama. And outside of some Nickeil Alexander-Walker fouls against Shea, I kind of liked those. There's just not much there to go off of when you haven't been cultivating these stories all season long.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. That's definitely a part of it with like looking for stories here. I would imagine if OKC makes the finals, that's when I hope you'd hear a lot more different stories. I don't think maybe I've missed it. Sometimes I watch parts of games on mute. I don't think they've mentioned Daigneault and Caruso being on OKC Blue together years back. Caruso before he was fully bald. I mean, and Daigneault looking younger with a terribly fitting suit. That classic picture that you see in social of those two sometimes. There's a lot of layers, to a lot of these guys on the OKC team and their journeys. Like Isaiah Hartenstein, like such a slow start to his career before finding himself with the Clippers and the Knicks and now with the Thunder. There's a lot of different guys that have different paths to get to this point. And, I think we talked a lot about their defense earlier, Tom. I thought it was nice today that two of their players were rewarded with the all-defensive team honor. You saw Mobley, Daniels, Draymond, Thompson, and Dort get named to first team all-defensive, and then Zubats, Triple J, Toumani Camara, Rudy Gobert, and Jalen Williams from OKC all were named to the second team. So two OKC players named to the all-defensive team. Overall, whether it's OKC or any of the other names, minus Toumani Camara. Any takeaways from the all-defensive teams, Tom, including Toumani Camara? I'm just joking, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love Toumani. You know that.
He's awesome. He's so good.
I was glad to see that he got second team all defense. And look, when you're out competing with Draymond and Evan Mobley and the rest of the first team, it's going to be hard to beat them in terms of the reputation and what Amen and Dyson Daniels did this season. Outstanding. Lou Dort deserves it. I would say Evan Mobley and what we saw in the postseason, I wasn't a big fan of him being the defensive player of the year this year. I thought it was Amen Thompson. I might not have had him, Evan Mobley, in my first team all defense. That's probably the only thing, maybe Jaden McDaniels over Jalen Williams. I understand that they want to get as many OKC teams on there, considering this was one of the best defenses we've ever seen this season in the regular season. In the postseason, it is the best defense we've ever seen. Looking at their defensive rating compared to the league average this postseason, no defense in postseason history has gotten this far by being that much better than average on the defensive end. And so I understand why two OKC guys are on that. I don't know. It feels like Caruso. I feel like the minimums on this, I don't know. Jalen Williams wouldn't have been my pick at number 2, but I understand why they had him.
Understandable. I had Jalen Williams on mine. Quick note on Camara. A couple of weeks back, maybe a month or so back, you remember I gave away the Toumani Camara Belgian waffles mix, right? I gave out 2 of them. The Blazers sent me 2 because we thought one got lost in the mail. So I gave out 2 of them with a random giveaway on social. One of the people received it. I'm sure very happy. I hope they made and enjoyed their waffles. Ryan, if you are listening or watching, look in your DMs. I have your Toumani Camara waffles right here, ready to ship. Ryan, check your DMs. Check. I'm asking for your address so I can ship you your Toumani Camara Belgian waffles. Check your DMs, please. I want to send them your way. You won.
Yeah.
You won, Ryan. Ryan T. They're ready to ship out to you.
Come on, Ryan. Let's go. Let's
go, Ryan. Anything else in the news, Tom? We missed anything else? SGA won MVP. All defensive team came out. Anything else this week that we missed?
Oh, we did see the Nuggets hired a coach or got an extension.
Yes, that's right. David
Who's
Adelman
running the show there?
Hired.
Adelman got the extension, but is it Kroenke is the acting GM here?
I do think the Kroenke's really running the show. And I'll tell you what, if Minnesota gets swept here by OKC or loses in 5, it sure as hell does make what Denver did all the more impressive. So, I understand Adelman getting that opportunity. I do.
Yeah, and Michael Malone. It seems like he might be in the running for some other jobs, maybe potentially this season. He's done a pretty good job in his short stint so far on ESPN. But
I
Adelman,
like him.
look,
I like Malone as a broadcaster. I like him. I think he could be really good.
Yeah, and Adelman, I like him too in this position. They're not making this hire without Jokic's blessing, right? In both directions, of Malone out and Adelman in. I liked what he did against OKC in that series and pushing them to the brink and the different coverages. It just is really tough. As a chef, you can't make a Michelin star meal without Michelin star ingredients. And sometimes with Adelman, it looked like he was really searching for options when Michael Porter Jr. couldn't move his arm above his shoulder, and you're dealing with Russell Westbrook, and at this stage of his career, at this point in the season, it's not in the cards. And so it's good to see that he gets the extension here, but it is confusing who's running the show there in Denver. They had Tim Connolly. They let him go over to Minnesota, and you see what they're doing now. And then, of course, Calvin Booth got let go too. And you're seeing Kroenke talking about this hire and the future of the franchise. Very interesting, that void, the power void there in Denver. And I wonder how they move forward with Adelman in that front office structure.
Tom, I talked about the Knicks and the Pacers with Jonathan from Knicks Film School, who was very sad and very nice to join me on the pod today to talk about that. But real quick, I did want to ask you, any takeaways from that insane, nuts, crazy game one? How are you feeling about that series after that?
Dude, I don't know about you, but I think the Pacers have changed the way I watch basketball. If it's a 10-point deficit with like a minute left, I'm like locked in, dude.
I felt that way tonight with Minnesota.
Yes.
Like they're down 10. I'm like, hey, you never know. You never know.
If you're Thibodeau, how big does the lead have to be? And this is right up Thibodeau's alley. Like he is dreaming of this. Is like, if it's a 30-point lead with 2 minutes left, I got to keep my starters in. He has more reason now than ever to get very nervous. If he goes to the bench here, he's not going to want to take his guys out. Because, like, dude, with the Pacers, 2 minutes left in the game, how big does the lead have to be, Kev? If you're the head coach, how big does the lead have to be for you to feel confident that you're going to win that game? Because against the Pacers have 3 epic all-time comebacks this postseason, the last 2 weeks. Over at inpredictable.com, they have tracked just the win probability, the chance of you coming back in these postseason games. Indiana has 3 of the top 7 since 1997, and it's all happened in the last 2 weeks.
Oh
it's nuts.
Gosh.
It's crazy. They've changed the way I watch basketball, dude.
And if they make the finals, they're due for another one. They have won every round. They'd be due for one against OKC, but that would be the greatest challenge if they could do that against that Oklahoma City defense. The greatest challenge. But then again, the way Neesmith shot the ball, it doesn't matter what you're doing on defense. It just does not matter at all. That was a crazy game. Tom, appreciate you joining me tonight, man. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and everybody needs to check out The Big Number.
Yeah, thanks, man. Everyone have a great Memorial Day weekend and enjoy the hoops.